Seeing a ghost underwater has to be one of the most unique and terrifying encounters. Yet this is exactly what happened in legend-haunted Bucksport, Maine. Long known to be a portal to other dimensions, the area contains vast tracts of dark wooded shores and a huge convergence of water swirling through the eastern channel into the Atlantic Ocean. Bucksport is home to many spirits of the damned, but one apparition stands out in particular: the ghost seen underwater. Whether it is the spirit of a woman brutally murdered, a demon, or some other supernatural entity, no one knows for sure. What remains certain is a sinister pattern of sightings, and what remains most dreadful is the face of the specter when it suddenly turns itself around. One encounter with this water spirit happened to a young woman in the summer of 2006, when she was scuba diving in Silver Lake. Amanda and her boyfriend had gone diving on one of those perfect summer days, with the sun sparkling off the water and a light salty breeze from the southeast. The couple swam together for a while before each went off alone to explore underwater wonders nearby. It was on one of these short forays that Amanda met the apparition. Before she saw the ghost, she heard it: gargled moans, cries, and vast bubbles of air reverberating under the water. Amanda spun around and saw a figure a short distance away. The back was turned, but it was clearly a woman with long hair and a long dress. The woman was struggling for help, crying out in the water. Then the woman started to slump over. Amanda had no idea she was seeing a ghost. Her response was for a living, breathing person, a woman who was drowning and who could not rise from the bottom of the lake. Amanda approached the figure, even reached out to help, and that was when the young diver realized with an unforgettable shock that she was looking at a ghost. Amanda's story parallels the other sightings in the area. Two Bucksport residents, Cheryl Leach and her 17-year-old daughter, began having a series of disturbing dreams in the 1980s. The dreams were always the same: a young woman with long hair and a long dress struggling for her life underwater. For a time, the mother and daughter did not realize that they were having the same dream. When they realized what was going on, they launched an investigation with author Carol Schultz and concluded that the ghost was the spirit of a murdered woman named Sarah Ware. Sparking one of the most sensational murder trails in Maine, the brutal death of Sarah Ware riveted the world in September of 1898. She was 52 years old and had come from Nova Scotia, but she was working as a domestic in Bucksport at the time of her death. Most accounts of the murder placed Sarah Ware at a poker game on the night she was murdered. At this gathering were many prominent men in the town: 2 lawyers, a city councilman, and a store owner. Rumor has it that one of the men struck her when she rejected his advances. The blow proved to be fatal, crushing her skull and killing her instantly. Other theories propose that Sarah was killed for the money she might have carried that fateful night. On one thing most accounts agree: the murder trail involved an elaborate cover-up by the men of influence, and the case remains unsolved to this day. The travesty of justice entailed one of the most notorious desecrations of the dead. Officials discovered the body of Sarah Ware in a field 3 weeks after her disappearance. Animals had eaten off most of her face, and her jaw and cheekbone were missing. Yet the scalp, with its long hair, remained intact. Carefully folded up under her head was Sarah's blood-stained cape. The arms of the corpse were also crossed in traditional fashion. But when officials tried to pick up the body, the head fell completely off. The courts retained the skull in an evidence box. Meanwhile, city workers buried the headless body of Sarah Ware in a nearby pauper cemetery. 80 years after the murder, the skull, with its ghastly head of hair, turned up in a dusty courthouse. Later, with much publicity, a group of women, including a journalist and local historians, saw to it that the head received proper burial at the site of Sarah Ware's grave. The story doesn't end here, for Sarah's remains apparently do not lie in the grave that now contains her battered skull. For the original resting place of Sarah Ware, the pauper cemetery used back in 1898, is now under a vast expanse of water called Silver Lake. When the town of Bucksport flooded the valley for a reservoir in the 1930s, the bodies in the pauper cemetery supposedly received proper burial in a new graveyard. Many people suspected that some of the corpses, like that of Sarah Ware, remained in their original resting place, with only the tombstones moved for the sake of appearances. All of this points back to the motivation of the spirit. Tormented and trapped by the separation of her body, the spirit of Sarah Ware cries out, particularly to women, hoping to bring about justice in her case. Returning to Amanda's close encounter with the wraith in the waters of Silver Lake, this theory holds, but other stark possibilities exist, all depending on how one interprets the dreadful face that Amanda beheld. For when the apparition finally turned around, it had no face. Like snakes uncoiling, the ghost's long hair floated back into the waters of the lake, revealing nothing in the place of the face. No eyes, nose, mouth, or ears. It was not a skull that Amanda saw beneath the hair, but rather the appearance of a smooth, blank expanse of skin, oval in shape where the face should have been. Gasping with horror, Amanda pulled back, wrenched herself around, and shot up to the surface. Before she reached the top, she mustered the courage to look back down, but by then, the strange specter had vanished. Several aspects of the sightings by Amanda and others, such as Cheryl Leach and her daughter, suggest that the water spirit is the ghost of Sarah Ware. The apparition of a woman with long hair and a long dress certainly resembles the historical woman, and the struggle for help under the water suggests a spirit whose body now lies at the bottom of a lake. From this perspective, the faceless quality of the ghost seen by Amanda represents the effacement of the corpse of Sarah Ware. Headless, the skull disfigured and buried elsewhere. By this point in our tale, the water spirit of Bucksport has earned its place in the dark canons of supernatural lore, but there is a final twist in this whole affair. Troubling parallels with other ghost accounts suggest an entity more mysterious and dreadful than the spirit of Sarah Ware. From all the well-documented lore of ghosts from Asia comes an apparition that bears a striking resemblance to the entity witnessed by Amanda. For example, Japanese accounts testify to a phantom that appears as a woman sobbing and crying out for help, but concealing her face by turning away or covering it up with her hands or her long hair. When someone finally comes to the rescue, the woman reveals herself to be a ghost that has no face. Native Americans living in the area of Bucksport, Maine have recorded many mysterious encounters with the supernatural. Some of these involve lake monsters, water spirits, and other entities that are not of human origin, beings that possess great power to change and do harm. Accounts exist of a shape-shifting water spirit known as the Chipichkam, who persists in causing speechless dread. For all we know, these ancient stories contain some of the first accounts of the baffling specter that still haunts the byways of Bucksport and the dreams of its residents. Hey guys, Reaper here. I just wanted to thank you all for either watching or listening, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify. This story was brought to you from Ghosts of Acadia, written by Marcus Labrizzi and published by Down East Books. I wanted to give both of them a huge thank you and a huge shout out for letting me bring this book to you guys, whether it's in audio form on Spotify or in video form on YouTube. If you want to check out the book for yourself, I will leave a link down below in the description in both Spotify and on YouTube, so you can go check out the book for yourself and support the original author and original publisher. New story coming out tomorrow night. And until then, remember, sleep well, my friends.